when I was growing up, Christians and Jews were one. The Christian knew that if it wasn't for Judaism, there would be no Christianity. So there was a lot of love and respect, for the most part, when I was growing up, between the Christians and the Jews. But nowadays, that has changed, where not all, of course, not all, but the Christians are hating the Jews, and the Jews and the Christians are fighting. Why is that? What changed?
About the well, I mean, I would just say that some of our closest friends, and again, people we look up to the most, are Christians. Some are Jews, and the friendship that we've experienced personally, and as the Jewish people from so many Christians, has been both very fulfilling to us and of world historic importance.
But Erica, why the big change, the fight between the Christians and Jews now that was not there for the most part years ago? What happened? What are the people telling you?
Again, not to be too argumentative here, but I think we see maybe the past and the present differently. I think there's been periods in history, repeated periods in history, when Christianity was the source of great sorrow and suffering for the Jewish people, and there have been things that have improved in recent times. And then you're probably right. There are also some elements in the Christian world that are in less good standing with the Jews now. But it's hard to say that that's just one, that's the full thread. I think there's been a lot of times in history that were bad, and modern times that can be good as well as bad.
Are you guys conservative Jews or liberal Jews?
We're just Jews.
No
We
politics.
don't really that way.
You don't get
Just Jewish.
Oh, you didn't get involved with politics.
Well, I mean, when it comes to being Jews, as Erica said, we're Jews, and
Did y'all vote for the Great White Hope?
I'm not sure what that is.
Do you know who it is, Mark?
yeah, but we're not talking about politics. I mean, it's to your question, we're just Jews. We're proud Jews. We try to raise our kids to be good Jews, and we're blessed with lots of friends and people we admire who are Jews and who are Christians.
So in case Erica, you don't know, I'm talking about the Great White Hope, Donald Trump.
Oh, I never heard that term.
Now that you hear,
I think I think that there's so much that we want to share from Mark's book and the wisdom of our tradition, that would be a more productive conversation to have than politics. People of good faith and conscience can have differences on which politicians they think will be best for our future, but I think that's not really an area of interest for this conversation.
What do you guys think about the anti love for the Jew? There's a lot in America, especially, but not only. There's been in these college campuses and places, there's been a lot of attacks upon the Jews. What do you think? Why do you think that is happening? What do you think about it?
I think it's been deeply, deeply troubling. There is, for anyone who wants to learn more about what's been happening on the college campuses, I just saw a great documentary with my children. I wouldn't necessarily watch it with young children. It's called October Hate, with the number 8. And it is about the horrific response after Israel was attacked and its people were kidnapped, which largely centered on the campuses. And I think what we're seeing now with violence against Jews in America is a global intifada, a global violent uprising. And I think that we can look at our college campuses as a big part of the problem of what they allowed to fester, to multiply. And all of our politicians have failed us by not implementing mask bans, and our college leaders failed us by not differentiating between free speech, which is incredibly important, and hate speech and incitement. So I think there's great work to be done, and I hope that your audience will step forward. What we need is partners who, when Jews are not in the spaces, will step forward and say, hey, this is unacceptable. There are to be no more demonization. Jews are just human beings like everyone else. Because once you allow people to dehumanize, then any story is believable, just like all of these crazy lies that are being put into the press and into our social media and spreading like wildfire. The only reason that these incredulous stories are taken on as fact is because people have already accepted the dehumanization of Jews. So I guess that would be my final word to your listeners as our time wraps up, that I would very much hope that people would stand up all the more so when there are no Jews in the room and say, these are children of God, and they are no different from you and me, and the demonization has got to stop. And if we want to be a safe and secure and holy people and country, we have to stand up for everyone, including the Jewish people.
The one thing
Yes.
that shocked
Yeah.
me, one thing that shocked me is that I never imagined that one day in my country that I would hear, knowing that the Allahu Akbar people see us as the big Satan and Israel as the little Satan, right? And they want to deceive the Christians and Jews in order to destroy them. I never imagined that one day in America, somehow or another, our enemies would move in and they would shout out loud, death to America, death to Israel, that they would burn the American flag right in front of our faces and put up the Allahu Akbar flag. I didn't think that that could happen, and I didn't think that America would allow it to happen if something like that even attempted to happen. I'm stunned by that. And why did that happen, Mark? How come America allowed that to happen?
Well, I would just, I think in closing, I think the one thing we can really focus on is there's been a lot of anti-Semitism, more than we ever would have expected.
Right.
But I would also say that we've been really blessed by the friendship of so many Christians who've really, particularly the evangelical community, who's really stood up with us.
Are you stunned, as I am, that the college allows this kind of stuff? The universities in America allows this to happen?
Yeah, yes, we are, and we were stunned by the anti-Semitism that was rampant on college campuses after October 7th, and yeah, absolutely.
What's the solution? Either one of you, what's the solution?
I think our time is up now.
Not yet. It's not up yet. Where you going? Don't be trying to run. What the?
Oh, no, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah, we got about 5 more minutes.
No, we were scheduled for an hour.
Oh, I thought it was a half hour.
No.
Oh.
What's the solution, Mark?
Well, I don't know if there's a solution. I mean, I think it's, for good people to stand up.
And what do you have to say to that, Erica?
Yeah, I think that when we are quiet, people start to believe that these radical ideas are the norm. Mark, maybe you want to talk about the studies that you've seen on heavy drinking on college campuses and what happens when people don't speak up because they think that they're in the minority opinion. And I think that people of good conscience need to begin to speak up. I think for people who haven't wrestled with the concept of Jew hatred and how this new form of it, which is anti-Zionism, plays into that a really useful way for people to begin to think about it is if you take any scenario and replace what they are saying about Jews or behaviors they're doing toward Jews with any other group that normally people don't allow you to treat poorly, it becomes very clear very quickly. So, for example, even though people have strong opinions about the Russia and Ukraine war, you don't see people throwing paint on all the Ukrainian restaurants or the Russian restaurants. You don't see schools where those children go being vandalized or threatened. You don't see churches, so and on and on. So you can if you're ever unclear of whether what you're seeing is Jew hate or something else, try substituting another group that you wouldn't tolerate being victimized in this way. And it becomes clear really quickly that, in fact, there is a unique level of tolerance in this country and globally when it comes to harassing Jews. So that would be my first ask to all of your listeners. And I think there is great power in speaking up. And when you speak up, it takes a lot of courage. And then for the next person, it doesn't take quite as much. And the next one, even less. And then it just becomes the norm to speak up. And I think we've had too much silence because people don't want to be canceled. And they think that this noise, especially what we see on college campuses and what the mainstream media chooses to amplify, they think that that's the main vision in this country. But Mark and I can personally attest from our friends and the people who've reached out to us that there are many people across all divides who stand with us in the name of truth and tolerance. And we need to just all amplify our voices.
Amazing.